Grace and peace, beloved. This morning, as the early bird gets the word, I have just had an extended time of prayer and encouragement in the word with the early birds this morning. And I pray that this early bird word blesses you as well. We were in Second Chronicles 17 and 18, and in Second Corinthians 7, as the word of the Lord turns from what was kind of a tragic turn for Asa, King Asa of Judah, whose successor is his son Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat's name means God judges whom God judges, and the chronicler certainly brings stark contrast in these two chapters between a good king and an evil king, if you will. Jehoshaphat is one that God blesses and gives success to, and one of the consistent characteristics or evidences is that good kings, those who follow the word of the Lord, who are led by God and who are secured in God's precepts and ordinances, teachings, and who adhere to and listen to prophetic, godly announcement, prophetic pronouncement, and godly judgment. He's prosperous both spiritually and tangibly, so to speak. And in that respect, his zeal for the things of God calls for him to issue anything that is sinful or evil or idolatrous, because of his love for the Lord. Wants to create an atmosphere around him where, in a sense, he just refuses to do toxic, anything that's unlike God. So he surrounds himself and creates an environment within his kingdom as a leader, as an influencer. In chapter 18, he is in a conversation with Ahab. Again, a contrast with a evil king from the north, so to speak, from Israel, who he's in league with, having have his son marry his daughter, and now about to go into battle with him, but insists on hearing a word from the Lord, despite the invitation of Ahab to join him in battle. And he has certainly the troops available before he goes into battle, spills one drop of blood, wants to discern a word from the Lord. Ahab grudgingly agrees, and his prophets, 400 or so, come out lying. Ahab is assured by his prophets, handpicked, however. It's kind of an homage back to the prophets of Baal in First Kings 18, where Elijah is facing the prophets on the Mount of Carmel. And despite all of these prophets, only one has a real word from the Lord. Jehoshaphat is skeptical. He knows he's in relationship with the Lord. And when you know the Lord in the sense of following God to the extent that you do and have some sense of fidelity with that, God gave him discernment to that extent that he requested, and stood fast on his desire to hear from the Lord. Is there not another prophet of God? Is there not a prophet of God? Even Jehoshaphat knew. Jehoshaphat judged the circumstance, the situation, and discerned that there needed to be a word from the Lord. And beloved, we have to go with how the Spirit of God directs us, particularly when we know better. Micaiah is called out, but too much to Ahab's dismay and chagrin. He hates Micaiah. I mean, he says he literally hates the prophet because he always prophesies something negative. And it says something about leaders who only want people around him or her who affirm them and who are never, um, may not even be critical at times, but because they have godly insight, may say something you don't like, but if they're proven to be godly in their relationship and in their walk, it, it's really a form of grace. The love of God that is expressed even in a critical nature may not say what we want to hear, but may be the very thing that would save our lives, and which is exactly what God was allowing Micah to do, to be a witness of the truth. But because of Ahab's recalcitrance and arrogance and ignorance, he would not follow. Micaiah is determined only to say what the Lord tells him to say. His name, one who resembles God, is exactly that. He's faithful and his word is real. He passes the litmus test of Deuteronomy 18 by speaking the truth and it coming to pass. And even by warning Ahab with a word that he did not like, that his prophets were given a lying spirit and that his efforts in warfare would end mortally for him, he wouldn't receive that word. Despite Micaiah being assaulted and slapped, it was Ahab who suffered the final, ultimate end of the word of the Lord becoming true. Micaiah is, in a sense, vindicated, and Ahab falls victim and prey. What also happens here is the fact that despite Ahab trying to hide and to set up Jehoshaphat, Jehoshaphat is in his royal regalia in battle, and the enemy came hard pressed upon him. But Jehoshaphat called on the name of the Lord, and the Lord protected and preserved him, diverted his enemies away from him. And even though in some ways Ahab tried to set Jehoshaphat up and use him, and yet, Jehoshaphat was kind of foolish in the sense, in my opinion, just saying to allow himself to be that kind of a target with someone. Even God protects us in sometimes of our, things that we do that aren't necessarily wise. There is a sense that when the Lord is with us, God protects us even as we may make some errors. We may step into some difficult situations, but God is with us. 2 Corinthians 7, as the Apostle Paul really rejoicing to some degree in the way in which his rather, as he puts it, harsh letter in the first letter to the church of Corinth, and in some part of the second letter, reflects that he's grateful that those who've heard a word from the Lord and who repented and responded in a way to change their walk and their ways have encouraged the apostle. The words from Titus in his report to them about them to the apostle has given them a sense that while it was hurtful for him to write to them a difficult letter, the fruit of repentance has come forth, and they've begun to change their walk, matured in their relationships, and making wiser decisions. It's as if the apostle is grateful that in spite of having to be sort of a Micaiah, so to speak, to really be kind of harsh on them or to say a word of truth that may have been difficult, unlike Ahab, many have turned their lives around, and thus they've turned around their circumstances by hearing the word of the Lord, repenting, changing their ways, and God giving them direction and respite and renewal and deliverance.